story is about a monk, a quiet monk named Jeevandhara, a man who never raised his voice, a man who never asked for power, yet somehow he carried a strength that made people stop, listen, reflect, and breathe. It's a story about ego. Yes, it is. But more than that, it's about compassion. A form of compassion that just refuses to break, and forgiveness that doesn't need to be loud in order to be felt. So come on, let's begin. Our story begins in a village that laid on the outskirts. Every morning, Jeevandhara sat beneath the trees of this village, not preaching, not commanding, just being there, just being present. People came to him because his silence felt safer than their own thoughts. And slowly, the village that once buzzed with noise began drifting towards the forest, seeking something softer than life's usual chaos. As the days passed, something unexpected began to happen. People who came to Jeevandhara for a moment stayed longer. They began returning every morning, before cooking, before chores, before anything even began for the day. Soon, the village that once echoed with chatter felt strangely quiet. Shops stood half open, courtyards empty, and the only path that stayed alive was the one leading into the forest towards the monk. And from a distance, the king noticed not the silence, but the shift. A shift he did not understand and therefore feared. The king went with his men to observe, but they returned with the same simple truth. People go to the monk because he brings them peace. But peace, is a strange threat to those who are ruled by fear. The king felt something tightening in his chest, the kind of insecurity that twists judgment into suspicion. He convinced himself that Jeevandhara was stealing his influence. So he summoned his ministers, sat upon his throne, and declared that the monk is a danger to the throne, even though the monk had never spoken a word against him. And because ego speaks louder than reason, he ordered Jeevandhara to be seized and punished. After listening to the king's orders, out went the ministers with their soldiers. They found Jeevandhara, captured him, tied him to a pole, and bet him till he did not start bleeding. But even then, Jeevandhara walked without resistance, as if the world could shake him but not move him. He still endured everything with a smile on his face. The villagers stood around him, crying, begging for the soldiers to stop because they could not see the one person that brought them peace suffering like that. On their way back after punishing Jeevandhara, the king rode ahead in his chariot. Boiling with anger, he did not know how to hold, when suddenly a horse reared, the wheel struck a rock, and the king fell hard into the earth. His crown rolled away, his breath broke, and for a moment, even the guards froze. But not Jeevandhara. He ran, not towards freedom, but towards the man who had just punished him. He knelt beside him like nothing had happened, as if compassion had erased every wound. Instead of gratitude, the king felt humiliated. How could the man he had just punished now be the one saving him? You see, ego hates being exposed. And sometimes it only takes a moment for a man to see himself clearly. Looking up at Jeevandhara, the king's anger dissolved into shame. His pride had finally loosened. In front of the very crowd that the king had once tried to impress, the king knelt, not forcefully, not persuasively, but pulled down by the weight of his own realization. He placed his crown at the monk's feet as if returning something he should have never held so tightly in the first place. And Jeevandhara, with the same quietness he had shown all along, forgave him. Not dramatically, not conditionally, just naturally, the way some people just breathe. In the end, nothing spectacular happened. No lightning, no miracles, just a quiet truth settling into everyone's hearts. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the softest decision we make, to forgive even when the world tells us not to. This is the story of Jeevandhara, the quiet monk